Hello, everybody. Good evening. I hope you are all doing well. Dr. Rao here. So, yesterday we did what if the body doesn't listen to you, or you don't listen to the body when you need to, or generally, body goes its own way, and because you never trained it, it kind of sends you signals which you are not trained to follow. But the habits that you created in the body will go on its own and they may be not good for you, right? Like, for example, you are not able to get up in the morning. It is now established that most of the people who are uh, like early risers or morning people, they call it. I am one of them. I get up maybe 3, 4, something like that. 3 to 3:30, 4:30, something like that. Sometimes I get up at 3. Sometimes I get up at 4 o'clock. It depends upon things, right? But I usually get up on my own. I don't need an alarm to open. So that's a very good thing for me because I get a lot of stuff done from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you know. And then by the time my students come for the wellness club, I'm already half the day probably into it, right? So that's a very productive way and very peaceful, very happy way to start very early in the morning, right? So that's what happens with me, but then it had to be trained like that. Okay, when we were very young, we used to get up very early and beautiful early mornings, and later on it gets very hot in the summer, right? But then I got lost out of it because I was reading late into the night when I was studying medicine, and so we lost the habit of raising early. Right? We didn't know, nobody taught us. Right? We were only concerned about getting good grades in the medical school and all that. Okay, so that happened. But then afterwards, when we became the physician, it was so erratic, so irregular. But me being a yogi really made a difference, right? So I understood the importance of listening to our natural rhythms and following the cues from the body, and also training the body in the way it should be trained, and then we are actually there is an alignment that happens in yoga with the body, with your mind and your spirit, right? So that kind of alignment is very good for us, right? So I kind of focus on that. So two A's in my wellness club: awareness and alignment. Alignment to the time to be here, alignment to the breathing, match it, and then alignment to our awareness and the body too, right? So it is much easier to get into that kind of thing after knowing what the importance of all that. So that's what we talked about yesterday. Do you listen to your body, or the body listens to you? Most of the time, most of the people don't have any idea, and they just go by impulse. They just go by whatever that comes their way, right? And then when they want to, for example, somebody who wants to train for a marathon or a sport or something like that, they have a goal they want to achieve, then they will train, and then they know that body has this own intelligence, so you better be one with it, and then you'll have much more success. So that's how you train the body, and then you listen to the cues of the body, and also most of the time it won't go on its own, right? But otherwise, body can be dictating things to you, like you want to get up but you cannot get up. You want to avoid certain habits, you will not be able to because they overwhelm you. So that's why I compare this body and the mind for two big elephants, right? So the first elephant is body, and second elephant is the mind. Both have their own intelligence, their own way of operating. So if you don't train them, if you don't train them by uh, whatever exercise that you do with the body, and if you don't exercise the mind in the sense calming it down, getting you to a place where it is relatively calm. But mind's job is to thinking is the thoughts come all the time. So when the thoughts come all the time, you cannot force them down, or you cannot give them a free way. Then it will be a very, very big deal for them to go all over, right? I used to say to my friends, I can go to one place or to other place in a second, right? I can go to, for example, Singapore, and I can go there and remember all that we did in Singapore and come back in a second, right? So that kind of mercurial, very brisk thinking will be there. The more you're trained, the more you are. And neurophysiologically, suppose you are playing a ball game and you want to have hand-eye coordination, you want to have real force of the body behind the ball you're throwing. That's important. So to be in the present, to be able to cognize all these things together, with a coordinate together, it will become much easier for you. Okay, so that's what it is in being a flow state. So, okay, that's an important thing too. So when you're in a flow state, you are so focused on what you're doing, and you have so much orientation towards what you're doing, it becomes very easy to do the child act. And then while you're doing that, you will not be tiring, or you feel like you are exhausted, right? So trying to get into flow state means getting to the attention, to the awareness that you need in the moment and on the task that you are doing. Okay, so there's a whole lot on that I talked about so many times, but we can talk about it again today. But then it depends upon who comes and who poses a question and all that. So mind, most of the people think that mind is not separate from them. They think mind is them. Whatever they have, that's the mind. They think that I'm the mind, and my thoughts are me, and this is my personality. This is how I made. This is what the taste I have. This is the what are the things that trigger me. This is I get really activated if I remember something, and I cannot get all my tendencies, my inclinations, and all that. Right? All that is real, but there is a solution to. So there is a whole lot of life beyond thought. And suppose you want to say, I don't want to think too much. I just want to do my stuff, be with my people, and be happy. That's excellent. But the problem is they cannot be like that. They have to train themselves. They have to understand there is a whole lot of knowledge on the mind, the thought, and emotions, and beyond that, all this complex, how you are, so what you are. And then the ancients declared your purpose of life, of human life, is to turn inward and discover who you really are. You are not the flesh and blood of body, or you are not the thoughts, emotions, convictions, understandings, and all that is in mind. You are not that either. You are that life force behind body and mind. And once that is really seen, identified, and stay in there, your mind will be quiet, your body will be very cooperative. Because mind is so quiet, it doesn't secrete all the stress hormones. So that's why you need to understand what is the mind after all, why these thoughts come on their own and then they bug me. Why something that happened 20 years ago now comes and bothers me, and why I'm dreaming always into the future and getting anxious when things are not done. So all these things you have to really understand. Okay, so yesterday, like we did with Idol, with the body, today we're going to do with the mind. I think this is important for modern man because uh, the way, if you examine the ancients and examine the modern scientific people, um, the scientific people cultivating intellect and then going outward, studying objective data and finding a lot of theories validated to make our life comfortable. That's the success, definitely. But then something very valuable was lost during that process of going out. You got to come, you have to toward inward, not with intellect, but with your intuition and feel what you really feel about yourself, that instinctive, right? Right? Then you can really see thoughts are coming to you. You are not coming to the thoughts. Thoughts are happening in your awareness, right? And so, but then there's a mechanism of thoughts coming and also staying on and going into the subconscious and then say making their own neural pathways and all that. So this is all explained in yoga for their way of looking at things. But it is was very beneficial to me to discover there is silence within us, there is serenity, and then you can use the mind much better that way. Otherwise, this is like a going on chattering, 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 and thinking, thinking, thinking. That can be basically neurotic, right? You can be a good scientist. You can investigate something, but you can also protect your mind not to be neurotic, not to be uncompulsively thinking, not to be unconsciously thinking, not to think of outside your situation. Some people may argue that is the creativity. No, really, in the creativity, there are no thoughts. Really, it happens in silence. Lots of times, even ask any scientist, they will tell you. When I stopped this chatter, the spark came on. They were doing some mathematical problem, scientific problem, right? And they go on torturing themselves for life. That's a good work too. But when they stop all that, suddenly they have the insight into the problem they are looking for. Okay, so this is how the creativity means there's nothing it's coming out of. It is coming out of really out of the silence, right? Something completely new. Most of the creative people call nowadays is something like an imitation or really copying down somebody else's finding or a discovery, right? It's not really creativity. They are finding what is already there. Okay, so that's a different matter anyway. So the deal is thought is really also outside of you, outside of your consciousness, outside of your beingness. So when you see that, then you won't identify with the thought, but you can use the thought very effectively, right? But if you identify with the thought, then the ego, personality, my own inclinations, this is me, all those things come into it. Okay, so I run into lots of intellectuals. They try to defend them, defend themselves. You can. I don't care because you can do whatever you want. But the thing is, uh, do you have chatter or do you have serenity? Maybe like a chatter is stopped and then you have stillness, and that's what really helps a lot, right? um, After you understand the structure of the thought, structure of the mind, structure of how they can come back, the neuroplasticity comes here. Because if you actively think with some purpose, something that you want to say, you can create corresponding cortical tissue. That's what it is. You see, a stroke patient who has stroke will be given a lot of exercise that he can do on the periphery. Thereby, that peripheral action creates nervous tissue around the necrotic or dead tissue in stroke in brain. So we know now you can create our own brain, like kind of. On the other hand, if you reinforce your own negativity, your own impulses or memories or whatever that you get, and all the time thinking negative, negative, you go deeper and deeper. That is the depression. So, understanding that we can be in charge of that, understanding we can change that. In modern psychology, it talks about cognitive reframing, right? So yeah, that's very popular. But then that's like a you still identify with the thought, but then you kind of change it from negative to positive. Whereas the ancient wisdom, especially Advaita Vedanta, they brought in like a, when you think of the thought, who is that aware of it? And that is real you, that awareness, right? So you got to stand apart from the continuous recurring thought and watch it. This is what I teach in my wellness club in the morning. I want my students to watch their thoughts. Don't fight it, because the job of the mind is to have a lot of thoughts going on. They will come because you don't have to, like we breathe all the time, like that thoughts will come all the time. But you can choose to slow them, watch them, and make go to one thought, and then beyond that one thought, you can grasp that awareness, which is really experiencing the thought. So you are the experience of a thought, and your thought may be arising out of your memories or outward stimuli or buried memories, which we call like ingrained thoughts, that are there. They formed a neurological loop, and the moment you have some stimuli associated with that, immediately you have the thoughts coming in, because even though your stimulus is not there. Like we see a lot of old people who are really old people who had thought this way unconsciously. I think most of the people are doing that too. Uh, when they do that, they unknowingly create this neurological path that reinforce themselves every time you thought like that. And most of it is unconscious too. They don't set out and do that, but they just repeat, repeat, repeat. They think about it, describe, or whatever. And then that becomes a very on its own life. That is the chatter. That is the by the way, many people who want to kill themselves, they shoot in the head, mainly because they can't take it from the head chatter continuous, and they can't stop it, and they cannot really be pleasant because most of them they are negative. So once you understand, you are not the thought, you are not the ego, you are not the personality, you are that life force that is behind the thought and the body, then you will be able to separate yourself from that constant chatter of thought, and you just want to be just calm down, and then you'll be if you can really calm it down and be straight there, then that is the truth. The silence that comes is the truth. But if you still the thought completely, there's nothing like a coming and going and all that, then that is the God. They said, okay, be still and know you are God, right? There's a lot of meaning in that. What it is they consider this life force all over is the God, and that life force is present in everybody. That is the being I talk about all the time. So once you identify with your being, you have the control of the mind and the thought and memories and all that. You have the control of the body, how it has to be trained and all that. Okay. So then that's why this question is here is, do you have this in charge of the thought and the mind, or it goes on its own way and you have to follow it? You have to really um, accept it, but later on regret it because it has become such a strong thing, and now you are having problem. So a person like me who is 16 and just completed, um, I have mastered this using thought in a flow state, do the work very well, okay, pay complete attention, and once that is done, I let the thought go and sit down in my natural silence. So they said speech is the mother of silence. So once you are in the mother, the silence, and that's a very rich experience. Um, People who are like that, they want to serve, they want to love and give. So they call them, they are leading a very service oriented, blissful, blessed life. Blessed because they don't have this chatter of mind in there. Okay, no opinions. Even the opinion is there, it will pass on. Somebody may be arguing with me about such a thing. They were unpleasant, for example. They show their whatever tendencies they have. Either they are thinking they are correct, or they want to force it on us, or they kind of plain don't listen. That's fine too. They have to grow up into what they want to. So uh, the reaction would be there. See, once you understand, the thought is what they are operating from, but their real being is not that. Then you can say, "Oh, he's a human being, or he can entitled to his own opinion, and he can learn on his own pace." So the blessedness is the reward for finding out this stillness, finding out and staying in that stillness. Okay, so many people cannot be there. So that's why a lot of people don't understand me, because they are coming from chatter, I'm coming from silence. So it's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm just stating the fact. But why do I come and talk about these things? Because I want to share. That's my pleasure, right? I want to give. That's my pleasure. And they don't have to follow it and do it, but they can go and investigate that. And the ancient did that, and I'm not arrogant enough to say they don't know anything. I went there, I kind of studied, I kind of understood. I didn't accept it just because they are saying, but I was able to uh, study them and then experiment on myself, and then came to this blessedness, bliss. And that is, even the outward circumstances are pretty bad sometimes. That comes to my aid if I have to take some very serious patient. Nowadays, I do only consults, but before I used to go to the hospital. Very big cases used to come, and then they used to give it to me because I'm kind of cool there. Not because I was naturally that, but because I understood the movement of thought. I understood the chatter, clutter, and all that. So one thing is, I don't allow my mind to be cluttered. Simple. You are doing something, do it and bury it. That's it. That letting go is very difficult for a lot of people. They just unconsciously let it slip into their inner being, subconscious, and there they form these neurological loops, and they come out when you are not really aware of it. So, uh, what is the recommendation there is? 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, whatever you can do. You can start with 1 minute. Do what's called dhyana. Dhyana basically means uh, you are going to stay with one thought and stay with one thought. It's very difficult for a lot of people to do that, because the moment they want to focus one, the other one coming, so they get indulged in that, right? And then the more to indulge, then immediately there's a network that happens with the thought. It's very mercurial. It doesn't happen slowly. It's very fast, right? Once that is there, then you are a victim of that network. Okay, and you'll go on, in a cyclical thought, we call it, right? So instead of that, you want to break that to one thought, silence, one thought. Catch the silence and try to do that in the morning, right after you get up, and in the evening, just before you go to sleep. And then all the deconditioning happen, and you will really enjoy the silence. Even outward circumstances are pretty bad. Okay, so that's how you can not aggravate any disease also. This is very important in psychosomatic, because if you don't allow this mind activity exaggerate your somatic condition, the psychological component is taken away, then the disease won't get worse. See, one of the reasons why the yogis are so healthy, so alert, and really sharp, and then retain their mind, and then they are very creative about doing stuff on their own and creating poetry, creating writings or sculptures, whatever they do. They are very unselfish. They want to just give to people whatever gifts that they make, and they don't want all this material things. It doesn't mean anything to them. I understand what that is, but basically you can be in silence, you can be in bliss, and you are blessed that way, right? If you can do that all the time, you may not be able to stop thinking all the time. You should not also. Just accept the thoughts will come, but don't allow them go rampant. Don't allow them to go associate with things. That's the thing. If you have only one thought in the morning, whatever the thoughts are, you don't wake up with many thoughts. After you wake up, there will be a period of awareness, maybe for you, maybe a fraction of a second. And then this, what is called I thought. Oh, I woke up. I'm here. Oh, I have to do, and then what I'm going to do in the hospital today. What are the things will come? That kind of thing will come, right? So what we advise is from the time you woke up till the time the first thought comes, you should be having at least a gap. Initially, maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute, like that, and then later on it becomes more, and then you'll discover actually this is my original state, this silent self, not this chattering box. Once you reach that, that is the blessed state. Okay, I can do it, you can do it too. That's my point. It's not like extraordinary human beings who have to do that. You got to understand, and then you have to understand you are coming in your own way to have that blessed, because you think thinking is good, and then thinking is always good, and thinking should be allowed to go on its own. That's the problem. Thinking is good, but it has to be more focused, purposeful, intentional, and once it is done, there is a gap between perception and thought. You see a tree that's out there with all the ice and snow, like I can see it now. That is really beautiful. And when I met that with my eyes and I got the impression back, I'm very happy just to enjoy that. But then thought projects and says, "Oh, I seen this like this before in the last winter." So you gone out of present and into the past, or into the future, or some other state. So more than enjoying it, perceiving it, you allow the element of memory or you know future talk, past talk, but buries the present. That you want to. There's an ending of thought. After you thought, after its purpose is done, there should be ending of thought. Don't, but many people don't pay attention, and then they allow it to linger on and go into subconscious, right? So to practice this, sit down in the morning, go through all the thoughts, identify the silence between two thoughts, and then stay there as much as, and then eventually you will be there all the time, and then thoughts will come and go, and you are the what's called Sakshi Bhuta. Sakshi means witness, witness consciousness. You are the life force, which is your consciousness that is watching the thoughts come and go. So one of the simple things I talk in my wellness club is when you close your ultimately they go into this, and then when you close your eyes, if thoughts come, don't fight them or don't indulge them. Just watch them like a cloud in the sky, coming, traversing, and going away from your vision or whatever. So that kind of thing I recommend. Otherwise, if you listen to your mind, you are caught. I don't care how technically excellent you are or how much intellectual you are now. Many of these people don't have peace, don't have strength of not reacting. They go berserk. Their senses go engaged and they bring it and immediately cause a turbulence in your mind. If you want to live like that, be my guest. But if you want to have peace, or if you want to settle down your natural peace, that's the more like it. That's peace itself. You don't have to struggle again. And once you are there, then it is life is beautiful. When you want thought, you can use it. But when you don't want it, you can spend in silence. So it's a lot to go to that state. But once you go there, it's an experiential thing. Nobody need to confirm that for you. Nobody need to tell you about it. You got to experience that. Okay, you got to make it real. What the teachings are, what all those people said. But if you want to quote, if you want to, but denying how you are, what can we do? You'll be suffering with this, especially if things are shaken and life brings accident, disease, or death, or any of those things, right? Then the shaken, that's not good. Okay, so that's how I see it. So a lot of people have that uh, silence in between the thoughts. Uh, it's not imagined silence. It's not imposed silence. It is there. Like I said, your thought, your speech, and everything is a child of the silence. So silence is the mother of talk, thought, whatever, right? But if you don't know any silence at all, then you can use some props to make you silent, right? Um, I'm listening to music that's going on here, but it's very silent, very, very calm, very low key, right? But as I'm talking to you, I'm aware of that. You will come to that state where you are aware of that silence between the notes, and each note you can follow, and that becomes a habit really. But then this is a habit you cultivated because you don't want all the chatter of the gossip, all the chatter of other people, all the chatter of their conceptions and all that. That's what is going on. Social media and artificial intelligence is going to exaggerate this multifold because there are going to be so many more. Did you see the congressional hearing today? I caught some of it on the evening news. They were railing Facebook and all these other people too. They said there's a blood on your hand. Kids are being abused, and then you're allowing it. You're not doing it. That's true. These people are money mongers. They don't care what is happening to the kids. One parent came, she presented what was going on, and she had a daughter that she lost. And what was happening, he said, you, though you're most involved parent, you cannot detect what's going on with the kids because they have the phone, they're doing everything behind you, and you don't have any means of controlling. And these people, the Instagram, Facebook, all these people they interviewed, they were saying, "Oh, we did that." They didn't. They have to do a lot more to protect the kids. So this particular girl who died, the mother came and she was telling the story. They pretend as though on the phone that this is a child. Okay, convince the child, and then once she sends something like a something intimate nature, and immediately they start blackmailing, and they blackmailed her, and then they sexually assaulted her, and afterwards they did more torture and more all the problems. Then she committed suicide. So that's one case they've highlighted, but there's so many people that are happening. Okay, they are sending messages like you got. So this is the influence the mind can get by allowing external summaries, ideas, and all that. You guys always go on concepts. Those concepts enter into you as facts. Those concepts enter to you as powerful motivator about you, and then they can suggest things that you may not want to do normally. So if you look at it, most of the people going neurotic, they are not finding any silence. There's nothing extra I'm saying. It's a fact. Most of the people, I don't care how they are, social media influencers or technicals or whatever, but then narrow focus on technology only and allowing your mind to be wedded to that is really not good for you in the long run. We are seeing that. You can take your own thing and then examine. Nobody needs to judge you, or you can examine yourself. How purely silent I am, even 1 minute or 2 minutes, or do you need something like a music or shower or really nobody around me or none of these stimuli, then you are in trouble already. But if you are in the middle of the noise like I am, but you can test yourself whether you are silent or not, then you will make progress. Okay? So this is not like a judgment or blaming anybody. This is information, say age of information, and I'm seeing people who develop this neurosis, and who have this cyclical thought, who don't experience any of the silence. They get up, work, and then they go to bed without doing anything about all the gunk or the dirt they accumulate in their mind, and they go to sleep. And then again they go, I'm talking, I'm being clever, then they think they are very good. But if they examine themselves, do they have that blessed life I talked about? Where you are unselfish, giving, loving, and also you are really in bliss and blessedness. Okay, that's possible. That is need to be done. Otherwise, the amount of data that's going to come from so many places, like you can see China with the face recognition, with all the things that they're having a tremendous data. And also today I think Brian, somebody he came, he's a C, is he is one of those security people, right? And he's started telling about how China is really gearing for a major not psycho, cyber security problems for America. They are training so many people to break through the water grid, electric grid, and all that. Okay, and we will have more data to be breached, and then it's not just external SIM but also the internal. And then they're talking about they already have this chip in the brain, right? So once you are there, you are going to be susceptible for all these cyber attacks. So understand this. This is going to be coming pretty soon. I'm sure I will be busy. People always call me going nuts with their data, or they just can't concentrate, and that's a problem, right? People cannot concentrate, cannot focus, cannot pay attention deficit. They cannot. This what is the shots and everything. Because people are not able to pay attention. So if I do a 1 hour talk, very few people really listen, right? Completely with interest. Most of the people want two or three. Give me now. Give me within a second. What's this? You are not looking at your attention is going down, and that's a problem for our generation, right? And you develop headache because multitasking driven that way, this and all that, and you don't feel the virtue of accomplishment. You did something completely, you let it be finished, then you feel I have done something. You don't have that. Okay. Hi Kate, how are you? I haven't seen Kate in some time. So it's a thing that you could do.
Okay,
Hi Kate,
go ahead. Hi,
how are you?
I just jumped on.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, what were you going to talk about?
I did talk about. I was here for about 40 minutes, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
40.
you were here a long time ago, or you haven't started yet?
No, I started 40 minutes ago. Yeah. So I was talking
Oh,
about mind and its operations and how you can have a silent mind and all that. Tell me,
oh,
what do you think about the
okay.
mind?
What suggestion did you say? Because I
No,
need a
yeah,
silent mind.
yeah. Get up in the morning. Don't allow your thinking to come on. Take some break. Take deep breaths and be,
Honey, wait. I know all that.
yeah.
I know all that because my mental health background. I've been a counselor, a therapist, and I also have been a coach. So what I want to know right now, how can you help me get slow down?
See, you are not even listening. If you listen, what I
Uh,
said was be in awareness.
I'm aware that
No, you
my
are not
stomach.
aware. If in the morning
What?
when you get up and you're thinking already, you are not aware.
Okay, you're gonna have to slow down because I have hearing aids on right now, and I'm not hearing you. You said something about um. Keep going.
See, if you get up in the morning, when you're awake, you are aware to begin with, right?
Okay.
But most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, what is happening in the modern times is people engage in thinking right away. They can't even help it. Lots of times it happens, and then immediately you think of the schedule, you think of what is going to be done today, what is not to be done, what happened yesterday, what is going to happen tomorrow. All that thinking comes up. But if you take a break and then pay attention, pay awareness to whatever is happening around you, that slows down that thinking. The longer you delay that, the better it is for you. What is happening here is there's so much data comes, and then one after one, we go through, and that's the information overload, right? So many things come at us. So in the morning, delay that thought coming in, at least few seconds, and then minutes and all that. I always suggest people don't get on the devices, at least for half an hour, and then pay attention to the life around you. Are you paying attention to the life around you? And then really looking at it without any thought and all that. And then in the evening, before you go to bed, again go into that awareness and go to sleep. That's how it is going to reverse all the bad habit of thinking all the time. That is going to be reversed because your silence is your natural thing. When you moved away from the natural thing so far, it trained yourself to be talking all the time, chattering all the time. It is difficult to come back right away, especially mind, because it's a mercurial thing. It,
But
yeah.
excuse me. Here's the issue that I want to talk about, and I want you to talk about, because that isn't my issue. I've been alone, and I mean alone, from any activity
Mm.
in my house for over 3 years. And it's hard for me to go out and deal with what's going on. And I don't watch news.
Mm.
I stay off the news in the phone. I stay away from what's happening in the world because I have to learn to take care of myself so that I live.
Mm.
So I live without anyone in my life, including my 4 kids. So you can't. I know breathing helps.
Mm.
I know being in the now, being in the present, watching around the room, sometimes looking at a picture. I know all that.
There's
I want
something
to
I
know
talk about
a
all the time.
daily, a daily, a daily time
Yeah,
during a normal day.
yeah,
Breathing works, and you can get present. And it's not the mind; it's the emotions
yeah.
that
Emotions are
come
a
from the
thought
mind.
too. Emotions are powerful thoughts. Listen, what it is do you turn inside and get in touch with your interior self?
The only time I do is when I get to the point
Mm.
of just slowing down and being
Yeah.
exactly where you said,
Yeah.
looking around the room and getting present.
Yeah.
But when it continues off and on all day long, it's a little harder.
Kate, let me tell you this way. Probably it will make sense to you. I am never alone, right? But I spend a lot of time alone in the sense I'm not lonely, I'm alone. I love that time with myself and all that because I touch that life force, a being that is, I consider more like a God that is there in everybody. Thing is, this perpetual ego and the thinking blocks that. Once you remove this, then you can get in touch with that. Then that is very blissful
Wait,
blessedness.
what you notice what? Say again. When I notice what?
You notice the silent blissful self within. You got to experience that.
Where do you live?
I live in Iowa.
In no, in La La Land.
You can think La La Land, but you are in La La Land because you are alone, you are lonely, and all that. I'm not. So you are judging me
Okay,
because
then,
no
honey,
no,
why can't
Kate,
you wait?
no
How
no
can
no.
you talk to me?
Wait. You are judging me with your cognition. Don't do that. Relate to me as a human being, then you know. This is the problem. See, people come from their own thought made self, but they know what the ancient wisdom taught everybody is go beyond that, and then you will end up with your real blissful self. Once you are there, you don't have this loneliness. Hi, Nazli, how are you? This is not an argument because it's not about me telling you what it is. You have to experience yourself by calming the mind and turning it. Otherwise, everything looks empty. Be still and know your God, right? And clean your heart to know the God. These are all biblical,
The ma-
yeah, biblical terms. Naturally, you came at the end of the talk today, so usually come early. So, but I would suggest to go and look at the replay, Naturally, because some of the questions you were asking me all the time, they were also there, but it's a twist of how you can really live with a silent mind, and which is our natural self. And once you are there, you don't have any questions. You are blissfully blessed. You will be living like that. See, I think it's almost 1 hour now, since we're talking, so that's why you might have missed it, a little bit. Any questions, Nazli, you have? Okay, you are okay then. All right, then I will close the room now because almost 45 minutes now. I'm planning to do here only 30 minutes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Okay? Okay, Kate? See you tomorrow.